Here with the incredible, the amazing, the fantastic Amanda Robbins. Love, nice to see you.
Hello, my love.
Haven't seen you for minutes.
Hmm.
Today, we are chatting about the power of your identity and the power of the story you consistently tell yourself. And, to make it real for everyone who's watching, what I'd love you to do is think of an area in your life that you would like to improve in. And so if you're watching live with us in the chat box, if you wouldn't mind, just share what is an area of your life that you'd like to improve in. Is it your health? Is it your relationship? Is it your emotions? Is it your business, your wealth, your finances?
Your
What area?
team, your
Your
leadership.
team, your leadership? Absolutely. What area would you like to improve your performance? And I'd love to know two things. Number one, if I were to ask you, why isn't it the way that you want it to be? Why isn't it the way you want it to be? And what you'll hear is the story. Well, it's not the way I want it to be because that other person isn't trying hard enough, or it isn't the way I want it to be because the market is wonky right now, or it isn't the way I want it to be because what? What's the story? And then the other piece that most people don't think about, which is really one of the most important and powerful pieces, is if I were to ask you in that category of your life, let's say someone wanted to transform their leadership skills, and I were to say, okay, as a leader, describe yourself. Describe what type of leader you are. So, if you have a pen and paper, write down, I am ... and then describe yourself. And what you'll notice, and be honest, describe everything that comes to mind, all the words, all the thoughts, all the feelings, just write it all down. And I'll tell you, for most people, if they take time to actually capture this, and then I ask them, read this as if you were the coach. Read it as if you were the coach. And say, hey, if someone came to you and said, hey, I really want to transform myself as a leader, and this is who I view myself currently to be, what feedback would you give that person? And 9 times out of 10, the person who just wrote it down is able to look at it and go, oh, yeah, I mean, if they were really going to be a leader, here's what I'd tell them. And you go, you're starting to quickly identify the adjustments you need to make to your own identity in order to become the leader you want to become. And I say, go do the same thing to the story. Why aren't you the leader you ultimately want to be yet? And you'll write down the story. And I say, go adjust that story as if you were a coach giving feedback or a mentor giving feedback to that person wanting to be a leader. And what happens when people take time to do this work, it's life-changing, absolutely transformative. Because what happens is those little adjustments on paper don't seem like a lot, but they literally transform the identity of who you believe yourself to be. It also transforms the story of what's happening. I'm going to pass this to my wife for a second. I've noticed I've been using a lot of words down here. And so the concept of how important is this, would you say? And we work with a lot of coaches. We work with a lot of top performers, people who are former special tactics warfare people who are former Navy SEALs, or pararescue jumpers, people who are in McKinsey and Deloitte and consulting. We get major corporations who reach out asking us for help on stuff like this. And what's wild is no matter how much someone's achieved, no matter how successful they are, if we spend a little bit of time updating their identity and updating their story, the results are astronomically different on the other side. Little adjustment here makes a world of difference for the results over the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. It's one of my favorite things to work on with people.
I'd love to hear, where in your life have you applied this?
Lots of places. Oh, me or them?
You.
Oh, me. I'm like, oh, I could answer that. I didn't know if you were talking to me or the people watching live.
Oh,
Um,
I see. Yeah, no, you, Jarek Robbins. Give us a so you gave us kind of like the overview, right?
the framework. Yeah.
The framework. Let's give an example. Where's an area that you've applied this?
Lots of places. Lots and lots of places. And people think it has to be like the one giant area of my life that's finally going to fix everything. It's not. It's the little stuff. Even as much as so I've been doing cycling now for the past probably four years. And the story that was in my head was I went to go run sprints and I used to be way faster than my wife. Like we would sprint together
Way faster.
and we'd run and then I'd
A
humor
joke.
myself just by keeping up with her and then I'd have fun and step on the gas and just go and like I'd take off. And we went and ran sprints for the first time in a few years the other day
It
and
was so
she
great.
flew right past me. And I attempted. I told my body run and my body went ugh, and couldn't go any faster. And the story that came up of why I am not faster than my wife running right now was, I haven't been running in years. I was like, that's interesting. I used to run marathons, triathlons, all kinds of stuff. So, and
Without practice.
my identity came up and my identity said, maybe I'm not a runner anymore.
Oof.
And I was like, well, yeah, I could roast her on a cycling match. Like if we jump on a bike, I'd leave her in the dust. But I was like, wow, that's my ego now kicking in, trying to protect itself. And I was unpacking it. And as I unpacked it, I heard this little statement, maybe I'm not a runner anymore. I was like, ooh, my body was willing to give up a whole portion of my identity that I've had for 20 years, 25 years. I was willing to give up a whole portion of my identity because one result wasn't what it used to be. That's how fast we can shift. And I said, no, I need to do some work on my identity around this. If I was going to get back into sprinting shape, who would I need to be to not only do it, but excel at it? And I said, I would need to be an athlete. I am an athlete. Like that I claimed very quickly. I was like, okay, good. I'm still an athlete at least. And I said, I would need to be a sprinter. And I went, am I a sprinter? And I said, I don't have the same level of certainty around being a sprinter as I do an athlete. And I said, okay, what would I have to believe about myself to step back into the identity of being a sprinter? I'd have to believe I'm capable. I'd have to believe I'm willing to do it. I have to believe it's fun. I have to believe there's an upside to it. I have to believe it'll benefit myself and others. I'd have to believe, and I started to create all the beliefs of what would I have to believe in order to step back into this part of my identity. And then to amplify it, make it exciting, make it fun, make it entertaining, make it something I want to participate in. And as I did that, all of a sudden sprinting became interesting. And then I was like, ooh, I am a sprinter. I've sprinted before. Now I'm out of shape. And I went, interesting. Am I out of shape? And I was like, actually, no, I'm not. But listen to the story. Listen to the identity statements. Listen to what was being unpacked in my own brain. And I had to question it. I've been an athlete for over, 20 something years of my life. It changed my life adopting that identity statement. Way back when I went into high school, I was 5'9", 225 pounds, and I couldn't run worth the life of me. And I adopted an identity. I said, you know what? I am an athlete. And by becoming an athlete, transformed my health. And then I became a runner. And then I became a marathon runner and a triathlete. And as each one of these identity statements became part of who I was, my health dramatically transformed. I've kept I am an athlete all these years, and I've stood in really good athletic shape and form and health. Now, what's interesting though, is I started hearing my own stories about being a sprinter, being a runner. I heard my own limitations and beliefs around it. And as I've done that work, I've been able to step back in to those places. As I've been doing that work, I also heard the limitations coming up. Like, I'm out of shape as a runner. Like, I'm not out of shape. I'm in amazing shape. And I was like, but I'm not in sprinting condition. And I said, that's interesting. There's a difference between being out of shape and not conditioned for sprinting. And I had to differentiate, because you got to think, if someone were to tell themselves they're out of shape, what future is that leading to? Versus if someone says, hey, I need to recondition my sprinting muscles, that's a different future. And it sounds fluffy for most
No.
people, but this
Okay.
literally changes someone's entire life piece by piece. But as I'm sharing my own experience, like, you have to unpack it, because each one of those little adjustments makes a world of difference. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a cockpit of, like, you're boarding a plane, you look over like a 747 and you see all those dials and buttons. Now, what if I were to run in there and just flip 3 switches while the plane was flying?
Terrifying.
Would anyone be okay with me running in and just being like, that one, this one, and that one? No, people would freak out. I have no clue what switches I just flipped. But there's a reason each switch is flipped in each position. There's a reason the throttle's in a specific position. There's a reason each lever is pulled in a certain way, because it causes the plane to successfully move through the air with hundreds of people on board safely.
Yeah.
Same thing in our identity, same thing in our beliefs, same thing in our stories.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not intentionally flipping those switches and adjusting those pieces in just the right way, you're flying around the air hoping you're going to stay moving in the right direction and hoping you're going to land at the right airport safely, and it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
And so we have to be very intentional about how we dial that in to get you to your absolute best and help you maintain your absolute best.
Absolutely. I love what you're sharing about how you question your own thinking. And I think that that's something that we often don't do. We just have these thoughts as if we have no control over them. And the truth is, we do, one. And two, the next step is to question your own thinking. Is that thinking directing me towards the path I want to be going down? Or is it guiding me towards a place that is providing me with mediocre results and falling short of my goals or aspirations or vision, right? And when we can become really mindful of the thoughts, those beliefs, those stories that we have, and really challenge them to create a better, more empowering story, it's going to guide us down that path. And one thing I love that came up was, just the idea of being faster, like being 2 steps ahead of our brain, right? So I I don't love running. It's hard for me to even say I don't love running, because I've also conditioned myself to love running. But one thing I had to do as well is that new identity. I am an athlete. And so as soon as you say that, your brain is now thinking, well, how would an athlete show up? What would they do? And then you show up that way. And this is something that I even see with our son, actually, which is so fun. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, where suddenly he'll just go, line up and wait, please, on runway 1. And what happened there? His identity became, he was air traffic control, or say, please sit down and put your seatbelts on. He's a pilot. And so it's one of those things where, like, it's not his default character all the time, but he drops into this identity and then acts and speaks and shows up completely different than how he does most of the rest of the day. And it's so fun. If our 3-year-old can do it, I know that everyone here can do it as well. And it starts with, again, questioning your thinking, right? Listening. What are the thoughts? Is this leading me towards the path I want to be on, towards my goals, my visions, my aspirations? And if it's not, challenge that thinking, change it in a way that it is now putting you on that path, that is more empowering, that is like, not I can't, but how can I, right?
That's right.
And then finally, what is that identity that you're going to embody and embrace and step into? What are the thoughts they would be having? What are the actions they'd be taking? What is the behavior they'd be upholding, right? And this is how we can truly transform the results and the outcomes in our life from minute by minute, moment through moment throughout the day with the ones we love, with our teams and how engaged they are, with our communities, with every aspect of our life, with who we're going to be in 5 years from now, just by starting today and doing these type of things.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you shared that that story, because it's so important to hear how someone like you as a coach
Yeah.
is actively, like, always living it. You truly walk it. And I think that's important for people to be able to understand and relate to, that we're still human too, and we have those moments, and it doesn't get past us.
Yeah.
We challenge our thoughts, we control it, and we navigate it back to the path that we want to be on, right? We take control of that.
Yeah.
All right. I have just a minute and then I got to bounce.
There's a more important part to this, which is if you're not willing to take control of this and you don't purposefully decide what you and who you want to be as far as an identity and the stories you tell yourself, then the world is just going to put you in a box and give you an identity. It's going to tell you who you are and what you're allowed to do and where you're allowed to go and how much you're allowed to have. And if you allow the outside environment to tell you and dictate that, then that's just what your life's going to be. And you don't get to access anymore. You don't get to
We
have
have to
or experience.
remember that was still a choice, right?
And that choice to either accept what life hands you or make a decision that says, hey, I'm going to decide what I want my life to be. I'm going to decide where I want to go and what I want to experience and how much I get to tap into. And it starts with updating your identity. The other piece is you will always come back to the identity you have. And so if you have an identity that believes you're not worthy of it, or believes you don't have what it takes, or believes you're not capable, even if you succeed or excel for the moment, you're going to eventually come back to what you believe is true about yourself. And so if you want to make that kind of change, if you want to make that kind of advancement in your life, if you want to experience what you're really capable of, come do the work with us. I'd love to do this work with you. It's one of my favorite things to do with people, because the moment this shift happens, you see results go to the moon and back, which is fun. If you're interested in this stuff and you want to help guide other people through it, like you have a passion for helping others guide through this process, just shoot me a direct message on the platform you're on that says, I want to become a coach. And we'd love to share with you the tools we have of how we help people move through this and hopefully bring you onto our team. We've done a really cool offer recently where when someone signs up with us in Performance Coach University to get certified as a coach, I made an offer that said, hey, it's a large investment financially and time-wise, but I'll put you in our business program and keep you in our business program, which is normally $1,000 a month to stay in the business program, until you've earned your full investment back. And we also added in, we'll place you inside of our Core 4 community, which is where I'm doing live hour-long trainings every Tuesday. Plus, we have group coaching every week. So we stacked, I forget what it is. It's 12,000, 13, 14, 15, $15,000 of bonuses basically to support people who want to come and get certified as a coach with us. Because my deep-rooted belief is if we can get more people trained in these tools, it'll change the world. The final piece we connected this to is I said, what if we could get to young people earlier with these kind of tools so they don't have to live 30, 40 years of their life with a disempowering identity? And I was like, if we could get to them sooner, I feel like we could possibly change the world in a positive way. And I said, okay, what if we could build a program with these tools for teachers so that teachers have these tools for young people early on and can help them build an empowering identity, help them create stories that are empowering, that support them in building the life they really want, help them create healthy daily habits and routines to stay at their best? What if we could get that into teachers so that they make it part of the conversation much earlier in life? And so we're in the process of working with a few people on how to develop that coaching tools for teachers program. My 2 cents were, it's going to be, these programs are a significant investment. It's probably more expensive than teachers are willing to pay. So I said, why don't we just gift it to them? And so we're toying around with the idea. We definitely are doing a 1-for-1. So every time someone signs up to get certified in the tools themselves, we'll gift one to a teacher. but I'm trying to do the math to figure out if we could do like every time someone signs up, we gift 5, or every time someone signs up, we gift 10 of that coaching tools for teachers program. That way we could reach even more students even faster. Anyway, so if you're interested in learning these tools for yourself and you want to get certified as a coach, we're ICF and BCC accredited, which is the gold standard in this industry. So if you want to come do that, just say, I want to become a coach. We'll send you all the info. Or if you have a passion for making sure young people get access to these tools, come and join us. Our big target is, can we reach 1 billion young people with coaching tools for teachers, which means we need to get 40 million teachers certified. So as that project develops, we'd love your help in reaching more teachers and spreading the word. But I hope this was useful. I hope you got something out of this.